Now, as more and more people give reviewing a try, they find out it's not as easy as it would seem. On your show, case in point, the Entity conclusion, where you were working till the last second on the visual effects, trying to
Mhm.
complete the episode and not miss your Monday release. You were still working on that episode well after posting it, correct?
Yes, I was. The biggest problem with that episode was the After Effects shots with the entity's eyes. It's not that the effect itself was difficult to pull off or that it took a lot of time for it to render. No, actually, that wasn't it at all. The problem was I move around so much that I have to constantly move the effect around and the mask of the effect to keep it consistent, or else they would just be staying in place for a long period of time. And the hardest effect was me literally walking around 90s Kid. And I realized as I was working on it during the weekend before the episode came up that I would have to save that until last because it was so involved, so time consuming that because I was putting a mask around my entire body as I moved. Uh, and of course, Spoonie later on pointed out, well, why don't you just put the mask around 90s Kid because he's standing still? I felt like an idiot. But but with that one, what I eventually ended up doing with that to get the episode out on time. Well, out on time is an interesting thing. I had to postpone it till the next day because Holly, the site admin, wonderful woman, she held off on the deadline because we have a deadline for putting up these episodes. She held it off for an extra 3 hours to try to get it up until finally she said, "I'm sorry, we can't hold it off anymore. You'll have to delay until the next day." And I said, "That's fine. You've already been more than patient with me on this." Uh, so I got it out Halloween night, and I was working around the clock. I think I got like maybe 3 hours of sleep. I
Well,
think
wow.
maybe I'd fallen asleep in my chair for a few hours. I was like, crap, I need to get back to work. Uh, and unfortunately, as a result of that, I was not able to get an new episode for the following week because I didn't have enough time before going to Youmacon. And with the effect of me walking around 90s Kid, what we eventually did was I was going to, do the George Lucas cut and put it in later.
Mhm.
But it was still time consuming, and I hadn't even finished an entire second, even though I had spent an entire day. It was a 20-second effect. Uh, I had spent the entire day on it. I had made like one more second of progress because 30 frames per second. I have to do it frame by frame. So I
Yeah.
was like, screw it. Phaelus, you are much better at After Effects than I am. Could you do this for me and and I know you're probably busy with your own stuff, but like, can you just like take a look and see what you can do? He was like, sure. Hour later, he had it ready for me.
Nice. Actually, speaking of After Effects and when it comes to video editing, you've had to learn this as you've gone along, have
Mm,
you? Haven't
pretty
you?
much, yeah. I started out with Windows Movie Maker because that was the one I was most used to and most comfortable with. I had made before like one or two anime music videos. I think if you can really hunt them down, you might still find them. They're not really all that good. But in addition to that, I had done some video editing for high school and college. Nothing too extreme, but just a few items here and there. And as a result of that, that was the program I was most familiar with. And eventually, I got Adobe Premiere Elements 7, because I realized there was a lot more effect stuff I wanted to do. I wanted to do green screen stuff, and Windows Movie Maker does not have any green screen stuff, at least not the version I was running.
Yeah.
So switching over to Premiere was a bit of a challenge, mostly trying to figure out how the hell to export videos. Uh, the first episode I fully edited in Premiere was Charles Barkley versus Godzilla,
Oh, really?
and you might notice some like minor visual errors here and there because when I first rendered it, it came out to like a 3 gig file, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing wrong. So I finally had to find a converter that would fix that.
Holy cow, man. And you've just recently just gotten a new computer, haven't you?
Oh yes, my Christmas gift this year was, and I contributed. I had to contribute a whole bunch of money into this too because it was so expensive. A machine devoted specifically to editing. It's got like 24 gigs of RAM, 2 terabyte drive, and we're going to add more drives as time goes on. Uh, and the entire Adobe Premiere Pro creative suite because my brother works for the Animal Humane Society, and he asked permission with them to license it out with them. So they got a substantially reduced discount on it. I think it went from like $3,000 to $500.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I love my family. They
No,
were very, very nice to me this Christmas. Unfortunately, I still had to pour in a few $100, actually up to 1,000, I think, myself into it too, because in addition to contributing to the software, because I had to pay for some of this as well. In addition to all of that, and new monitors and all that fun stuff, I also had to buy a new desk because I had my previous desk, which I did everything on, and then I needed a desk for the new computer. So that was still more money poured in.
oh wow. I'm sure you've collected quite a studio right now with you're just rocking like the two desks, the beast of a computer, your camera equipment and everything like that. Have you gone to like professional lighting or anything like that?
No, no, no. I still don't have professional lighting.
I
But
gotcha.
that is fine. Let me tell you, for people on the cheap, a lot of reviewers I've seen in panels recommend going studio lighting because you want your first videos to look really nice and cool. For the last 3 years, I've been using $20 lamps I bought at Target. They look fine as long as we can see you, we can see clearly, and you sound fine. You're good to go.
I got you. Well, thank you for that tip. Now, has there ever been another episode where you've been like just frantic about worrying about making your deadline on the release?
Oh God, yes. Anytime a storyline ends seems to have a big issue with it. Now, in fact, the smoothest an episode has ever gone was the Mecha finale because I actually got all of that done with about 3 days ahead of time, which is interesting considering that's one of my longest fight scenes. It was my first fight scene, but I had filmed it and started editing it, I think at least a month or two beforehand.
Oh, wow.
And that tends to be my policy for any kind of these storyline conclusions. I need to film them a month ahead of time to give myself enough time to work around it and have the extra time to work on this kind of stuff. But even then, it still takes time. And with this latest storyline that's ended, the His Blue Soul arc, that one I was still working on pretty much till the end of the day. That was another one that Holly gave me an extension on, but I actually made that deadline. Which was good, but it also ended up being my longest episode yet at 51 minutes.
I know I've seen a little bit of a trend here recently on each of your storylines getting a little progressively longer on them. I mean, and heck, it paid off. It keeps me entertained. So you know.
In fairness, though, part of the reason why that episode is so long is because I'm reviewing a 60-page comic, and the review alone is 31 minutes. I did check into this because I got the review portions done with the day before because I always wanted to get the reviews done with because at the very least, even if I was still working on it 2 days afterwards, I could still render out a review and people could watch it.
Mhm. I gotcha.
But yeah, that one actually went very smoothly. The Star Trek II reviews, I was still using my old computer at the time. My gaming rig is what I'm now calling it. And that was a nightmare because my old computer was not designed to work with as many green screens as I did, as many clips as I did. I had to save a lot of these episodes in chunks and then put them all back together again.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the new editing rig though went perfectly smoothly. The thing never crashed, never ran out of memory. I love that thing, and I am keeping it devoted entirely to purely review-based material. I don't surf the internet on it. I don't play games on it. It is strictly for editing, and I don't do anything else with it.
Actually, staying with the Wrath of Khan,